The Lift & Co. Cannabis Expo returns to the Metro Toronto Convention Centre, November 18th to the 21st. Discover and learn about all things cannabis. Get your tickets at liftexpo.ca. Must be 19 plus to enter and attend.
I not only appreciate the product and you hanging in there and doing all the research and getting out on every platform that you can to talk about this miracle plant so that other people can experience the benefits of it, and all that you give away. Oh my gosh, I not only love the plant, I love your company, and I love each of you for offering to the world the benefits of this beautiful plant that God created. So thank you.
Welcome to the Miracle Plant Podcast, the show that inspires, promotes, and gives you a daily dose of inspiration from the people who have used cannabis to change their lives in extraordinary ways. Here's your host, Janet Benton.
Welcome, everybody, to the Miracle Plant Podcast, where we discuss this miracle plant with so many names and how it helps so many people in such extraordinary ways. Today, we're going to have cover the topic about stress and things that we can do to naturally, holistically do things to help us relieve ourselves from stress and from all the anxiety that we seem to have these days. And we also have a special guest back, who was our first guest on the Miracle Plant podcast, Kristin Selby Gonzalez. Kristin, how are you? Welcome back to the Miracle Plant podcast. What's been going on with you?
Good morning. Hi. Yeah, it's just been... I've been so busy because this plant has helped give us, our family, a real life back. And so it's been just amazing, just absolutely amazing. And I can't say enough amazing things about the miracle plant.
Love it, love it. And I know that we've been up to speed. You've shared some incredible stories with your son. And I would just love it if you had a couple to share. I'm sure there's so many experiences and things you've done over the past year or so, but they're just incredible stories. And why we started the Miracle Plant podcast was to share these stories with the world. So it wasn't just us hearing these incredible stories, but the world gets to hear them. So if you got one or two that are on the top of your mind, I'd love for you to be able to share that.
Well, just to kind of recap for those that don't know, I'll just give you a quick summary. Before finding the miracle plant, my son was going through major aggression. We were at the doctor's, probably every couple weeks and doing emergency calls every week at least, trying anything and everything. We were on other forms of CBD and even THCA and THC, and just nothing was working. And obviously talked to Janet and Justin, and I knew about this 101 CBD and the miracle plant, and yet I didn't try it. And so finally I tried it. And from that day, and I'm not even exaggerating, from that minute, that moment, that day, which will be, I think, going on 2 years in October, if I'm correct, it's been life-changing for us. We haven't had anything that we used to have. I think we've maybe had 2 small incidences where he got a little aggressive, but it was like maybe grabbed my hand and kind of squeezed a little bit, and that was nothing compared to what we were going through. We had holes in our walls and glass everywhere and, blood coming down my arms. And, that's what happened prior to the miracle plant. And now, fast forward, oh my gosh, a couple weeks ago, we got to play with kids in our front yard, which is like huge. My son is 19 and is at about a 1st to 2nd grade level now. Like, he's definitely climbing that ladder. And I'm very proud to say that. He has limited language, but even his language is exploding now. His processing skills are doing really great. Some of the other therapies we were doing, like NACD, which is National Association of Child Development, and some play therapies, are finally able to now take him to another level because he's able to take that in and absorb that. And I know 100% it's because of the miracle plant. And so a couple weeks ago, we had rented one of those awesome slides, and we invited the neighborhood kids over that we never met really before. And it was like this amazing moment that I feel that most families that don't live in the autism world maybe take for granted, because I've never got to experience that before. So even the age of 19, I'm getting to experience first. And it's amazing. I was like crying all night in the shower. That's where I cry, is in the shower. And that night I was just crying of tears of joy because it was just such an amazing moment to get to watch that. The other thing that we've been up to is about every 2 months we go to a place in Arizona called TRAK, T-R-A-K, and they are amazing. It's a horse therapy camp, and we work one-on-one with their founder, with my son, and they really believe in him, and they just have this amazing energy and spirit about that place. And my son is thriving and doing amazing, and now he likes horses, and he's liking this big, huge St. Bernard dog there that he never liked dogs before. He's helping feed the horse and groom the horse and rides the horse. And I never in a million years would have even attempted to do an 8-hour drive by myself to Arizona with him to go for 3 days, every couple months to, do this amazing opportunity for him. And so now these other therapies that I've always had kind of at my disposal, like most parents, right? I've never really been able to take part in them because he was so not available, or I was really afraid of the aggression. And now it's like, I get teary-eyed just talking about it, but it's like now I get to have a relationship with him again. And, when puberty hit, it was like this awesome storm. And when I say awesome, I mean the opposite of that, because everything just went haywire and aggression came out, seizures came out. And it was just awful. And it didn't matter what top doctor I went to. And I love all of our doctors. Everybody was trying their best. Don't get me wrong, but nobody could figure out how to really help him. And, I was very scared that the police were going to come in and it was going to be out of my control at some point. And, then giving him, this miracle plant and really learning the difference of what, traditional quote unquote, what we think CBD is versus CBDA. And really what the miracle plant has given us, it's night and day. And so I can't be more grateful. I feel like there should be another word other than grateful, because I get to see my son thrive. And another thing that just happened, this was just yesterday actually, and this might sound like a small thing, but it's really not. Even his fine motor skills are doing better. We were unaware that he couldn't draw like an abstract, like just like a shape, like a circle or a square perfectly, or a triangle. And basically this last couple of weeks, we're like, well, let's just work on it with him. If I showed you the before pictures this week to the after pictures within 1 week of him being able to grasp that, it's like night and day. Like he can now draw them, and he couldn't do that before. And so again, just being able to be with him and being able to show him things and introduce things to him that, again, we weren't able to do before.
Well, that is so incredible. And yes, I know sometimes words just don't do it enough justice. They just don't make the words for, us parents that have dealt with and are dealing with a severe diagnosis, like your son and my son. And, it certainly takes a certain kind of parent to see it through, which you definitely are. And, all the adversity and all the persistence and all the hope. And, you're obviously the president of Autism Hope Alliance, who we partnered with a few years back. And you do so many great things to help educate and offer hope to parents, because so many of us in the very beginning, in the earlier stages, 5-10 years ago, there really wasn't much hope out there. And so now that we're starting to see some incredible progress with, this whole plant, cold extracted, just the way Mother Nature made it, cannabis or hemp product, along with other things that work, of course, with diet and nutrition and things like probiotics and the gut biome, microbiome was really the secret and key for us, as I know it was with you. And it's every puzzle's a little different, right? Every human body is different. Every receptor sites and brains, they're all different. Like we're all different, like snowflakes, like on a thumbprint. And so finding and unlocking our body's full potential is really giving it the nutrition, you are what you eat, and the building blocks, and understanding what things can help overcome, whatever challenges that we might be dealing with. So I'm just so happy to have you back. I know you got to run. and your Saturday to hang out with your son and have fun.
Well, all because of you guys, because now I get to be enjoying Saturdays and getting to go on bike rides in the morning and getting to do stuff with him. That, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for, continuing this mission and not giving up and looking for your son, because if you wouldn't have been looking for something to help your kiddo, I wouldn't have had this for my kiddo. And for anybody listening, I have to say this before I leave. It does not matter how old they are. Often I get those hundreds of emails a month, and people are always worried, like, gosh, my child's 8 or my child's 22 or, my child's 15. Is there any hope? And oh my gosh, yes, there's hope. There is absolutely hope. Our bodies are amazing, as Justin said. And at 19, I'm still seeing my son climb this ladder. So I'm just overjoyed. And just, again, thank you so much, Justin, and big hugs to you all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all that you do. And we can't wait to hear more and more just incredible progress reports. And that was our mission, was when we found the miracle through our prayers for our son dealing with severe autism. It was our moral obligation, our purpose, our mission to truly pay it forward by getting access to these same products, by educating, by teaching people how to grow hemp in their backyard. And you are a shining star and a shining example of what this miracle plant can do, you and your son. So thanks for stopping by, and enjoy your weekend. I'm sure
you guys too. Talk soon. Bye, everyone. Happy healing. Bye.
Absolutely. Take care. Thanks, Kristin. So and I'm just incredible. Anybody have any comments upon hearing that? I love hearing Kristin's story. It's just incredible.
Go ahead, Jen.
I just wanted to jump into, and it is because Justin and I remember that we had done a podcast with her just talking about our journey. And she always talks about how, as a parent with a child with autism, you get discouraged because you've tried so many things. And especially Kristin, as the president of AHA, who gets access to everything out there in the universe, because people like to be on her website with their different products and things. And then for her to, it's even hard for her to try one more thing, to have hope that something actually might work. And so she's always sharing that message too, that, like, don't give up, even if you're just totally discouraged and or depressed about what's going on, don't give up. And so it's been very exciting to see his progress, and just so quickly to see the changes that he was having. And then she's one of the most dedicated parents I've ever come across with a child with autism. One thing she didn't have time to mention that I found fascinating is because her son, again, was having trouble interacting with other people, was not comfortable with children or other people at all. And so one thing she did is literally got one of those electronic babies that sometimes high school kids have, that they have to take home and take care of, where the baby will scream and yell. And so she actually went and paid huge amounts of money to have one of those in her home, to have him learn how to take care of the baby and not overreact to the noise and things. And the idea, too, of bringing in neighborhood kids and just kind of giving them a little heads up in terms of interacting with him, and then actually seeing him have fun and play, and they go to ballroom dancing and go in the ocean and boogie board and things. And so it's just always amazing. And if we ever get discouraged at all we have to do is hear some more updates from Kristin. And I wanted to reemphasize her last point too, that it doesn't matter, because so many people think, well, my child's too old. So like Justin's son was still a young child when we started working with him, but your child is never too old to have more recovery and to improve. And so it's very important that her message gets out, that her son wasn't a 3 or 4 year old or a 2-year-old. He was 18 when he started. And so anyway, I'm so happy to have her here. And if you have any questions, she has a great website, the AHA.com, and also see more information from her and more information on what's working.
Yeah, and I think the full website is autismhopealliance.org. So you can check out her website there. And she was on, I think, the first podcast that we did for the Miracle Plant podcast. So if you scroll through, go look at all episodes and go back to Kristin Selby Gonzalez, you'll hear her full story, and it is quite the powerful story. So definitely happy that she was on. Happy to have her back on to give us a little incredible, exciting progress report. So LaTara, did you say you had something as well to add?
Yeah, I was just thinking about all the things that she was saying and all the progress that her son made. And it, of course, made me think about Zaria, who's been fighting autism since 2 and epilepsy since 5. But I'm really starting to. I completely understand how Kristin feels, because I'm starting to be that mom that can do those things, like she said, with her son. I can do those things with my daughter. She's Zaria. Her progress is just like, we really need to do some type of documentary or something. I feel like with our kids in our circle, just putting it out there for something in the future, between your son, my daughter, and her son. This is really, truly a miracle. And it just really made me think about Zaria, how she's progressed since taking the CBD. And Zari's coming up on 2 years too. And she's amazing. We're hanging out more. We're doing girly things, and things that she wasn't interested in. With regards to school, her teacher sends me a report, because she is in summer school, and every day she's doing really well. She's doing all type of arts and crafts, and even music. And also, I can let you guys know that Zaria is getting ready to start drum lessons next week with a nonprofit organization here in Las Vegas called Sports Social. So they teach children with disabilities how to, play musical instruments, and she's really into the arts. So just the fact that she's able to even tolerate someone being that close to her to teach her how to play an instrument speaks volume on the CBD. But it's truly helping my daughter have a better quality of life. And I completely understand everything that Kristin was saying. It's absolutely amazing. It's definitely happy healing here.
Absolutely. And that's, again, why we started the Miracle Plant podcast. When I reached out to, Dan to say, look, I got this idea. I know Dan has this amazing platform, PodCONX, formerly MJ Bulls, and, this incredible platform for cannabis podcasts. And it was just one of the very small options that us in the cannabis and hemp and plant-based healing natural supplement world have to get our message out, because there's so many forces working against us, things like, ads on Facebook and, normal traditional things that people would do. And, even just running an ad on the radio, you have to sign this affidavit and not say these words. And it's just been really difficult when you have this incredible story, these stories left and right. And it's like, I keep waiting for my phone to ring, right? I keep waiting for that call, right? Oprah or whoever, the Good Morning America. It's like, they're looking for content and for stories, but these stories aren't getting out there. And so with this podcast, with the Miracle Plant, we just tell the stories, and we just want people to try to have an open mind and to learn something about this plant, and not think of it as something that, we all as Americans kind of thought in general. We just thought it was a gateway drug. Just say no to drugs. It was bad for you. It was going to lead to other things. And all of these images that we were conditioned over the last 80 years. But, because of sharing stories, just like Charlotte Figi coming on, Dr. Sanjay Gupta's show and showing where she had all these seizures, and that was the beginning of the genesis of me thinking, well, if it was helping children with seizures, how maybe it could help my son with his neurological elements of autism. And then it led us to continue to become experts and research other ways to create products. And that's what led us to Dr. William Courtney, who I'm working on bringing on the show, and his juicing cannabis that was helping people with late stage cancer. Incredible stories. And there are these amazing stories that aren't in mainstream. Right? We know what is in mainstream. You're on mainstream every day. You turn on the TV and it's commercials of these pills that have this laundry list of side effects. And it's insanity that they shouldn't even be allowed, in my opinion, to advertise for these kinds of pills, because now we're supposed to go to our doctor and say, hey, doc, I saw this pill, can you scratch me out a prescription for it? It's insanity. And there's so many of us who already know, in our own hearts, in our own intuition, that it's not the way. We're out here on the West Coast, and we talk to so many people that are sick and tired of being sick and tired. They don't want any more pills. They've lost hope in that, and they're looking for something that's more natural, that's more holistic, that's plant-based, that doesn't keep them up at night, that doesn't have side effects, that including could possibly kill you. I mean, give me a break. I'll keep the rash. I'd rather live. And so, again, because it is harder for us to get these stories out, because if we teach everyone how to grow hemp in their backyard for free, which we give out free hemp seeds and teach you how to grow hemp in your backyard, and you can still plant today and grow some beautiful hemp in your backyard. And you can take that hemp and you can juice it yourself in an omega juicer like we use, and you find results with pain, anxiety, and stress and sleep. What else could you do? And the billionaire, trillionaire, big pharma industry doesn't make a dime off of that. So they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep their profits up and their margins and their quarterly reports and their dividends and their homes and their vacation homes and private jet lifestyle. And new billionaires are made every week in the big pharma. They're not going to let that go. So that's why it's so difficult for us to get on Facebook and Google and Oprah and all of those things, because they have the money. They are the top of the hill, and they're going to do everything they can to keep the top of the hill. But the cat's out of the bag. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Too many of us out here have experienced life-changing, miracles with this plant, and that's why we have these people on. So with that, did anyone have anything else to add? I know we tried to talk a little bit about stress and anxiety and no more pills, but sometimes you just go with the flow of the discussion.
I can address briefly talking about stress and anxiety. I always like to go down to the basis and the very basics of how our bodies work. And so if we're ready for some anxiety discussion, I can do a quick summary of some of the areas CBD helps with for that.
Please do.
Okay. And one thing I always like to mention with CBDA, and again, too, so CBDA is the raw component of the hemp plant that has not been heated and turned into CBD. And for one thing, the CBD is the most abundant cannabinoid in the hemp plant if you keep it raw. And they're continuing to find so many more things that it does. For one thing, it's 10 to 100 to 1,000 times more powerful than the heated CBD. And part of that is the CBDA goes beyond the receptors we have for cannabinoids called the endocannabinoid system. And that includes the ones cannabinoids made by our body as well as the plant ones. And by the fact it can go to a wide range of receptors is where we see such a huge range of benefits that go beyond CBD. And we always talk about, it's like orange juice. If you have fresh orange juice, it's going to be healthier for you than if you buy like Tang or boxed juices. And it's just very common sense nutrition that the more we heat something, the more we lose the health benefits. But the CBDA also is more bioavailable, or our body can use it more quickly and with lower doses. And so besides being very, very much more powerful, you don't need as much of it. And that's very important to know. And so again, too, one of the receptors related to anxiety that there's a lot of research out there now, and it's just called 5-HT. And it also has one related called 5-HT1A for those who care about those depth things. But it also is the receptors that produce serotonin. And we hear about serotonin sometimes on pharmaceutical commercials. But serotonin they call it the happy chemical. It literally is the chemical that gives us a sense of well-being and happiness. And then the CBDA, since it balances and works with that receptor, it literally controls and can enhance and balance your serotonin levels. And so literally when you are unhappy or stressed or anxious, taking the CBD can help balance that level. For instance, so if you're super anxious, it'll bring you to neutral. And that's what we call the homeostasis or balance. It just brings everybody to neutral. And if you're depressed, it'll bring you up to neutral. And then, so again, you're going to feel calmer and better. And it often takes people using CBD to realize, oh, I do feel better, because it doesn't give you that kind of drug feeling, I call it, if you've ever taken medications where your head's a little fuzzy or you feel a little different. And CBDA is putting you into a natural, relaxed, balanced state. And so many of us do not recognize that because we live our lives with such levels of stress from the outside and our own worries and anxieties and pressures we put on ourselves. So many, many people, other than maybe in a state of deep meditation or something, are we going to find that sense of neutral. And so many people starting to take the CBDA suddenly kind of look back and say, oh, I was on a plane and there was turbulence and I didn't get upset. And so almost by looking back in your life, you can see how well that it's working. And one other related to anxiety benefit of the CBDA is so it literally works with that whole endocannabinoid system of receptors, and it works with it to actually give us that sense of homeostasis and balance throughout all of our organs and all of our systems, like our respiratory system and our immune system. And so again, too, starting at the very basic science of how it works, it's very clear that it works. But mainly we talk about, when we work with people, we talk about how it works for that individual person or individual issues that people have. And pain had usually been the number one reason people were seeking out our CBDA. But it seems, especially with the pandemic and everything, anxiety is right up there as number two. And then sleep is very much related to anxiety also. One of the major reasons people can't go to sleep or stay asleep is because of anxiety and worrying. And so then the CBD also provides a very critical relief by allowing people to actually get enough sleep that they are able to be refreshed and their brain functioning well to work the next day. So you don't have to remember all the receptors or anything with CBDA. Just keep in mind that it literally works with all of the receptors in our bodies, at very, very complex things that go on in the body. And it goes way beyond what just the heated CBD or THC do. And their actions are confined to the subset of the endocannabinoid system of receptors. And every day when I do more research, they find more and more and more different benefits of what the CBDA is doing. It literally, to me, is like a master chemical that works within our body. And we are just been kind of slow in our kind of pharmaceutical approach to medicine to actually focus on this and find the benefits. And it didn't help, obviously, too, that they made it illegal for so many years. So anyway, I really feel that our CBDA is at the forefront of the whole research in the cannabinoid industry. And especially for anybody under 25 or 27, like we talk about our kids with autism or seizures or many other different kinds of issues. THC is not great for those kids because your brain is still developing and it does interfere with brain development. And so again, too, CBD is a perfect choice for all of our kids and young adults to use. And I continue to do consultations, and every week I continue to hear stories like Kristin with her son at 19 and with older and older and older adults. And so I just want everybody to know out there who's dealing with children with issues, whatever their age, that we do have a product that works very well with them.
Love it. No, if you had something else, go ahead and finish. I just noticed we had another guest come back. So today is apparently the day of hearing from old friends joining us again on the Miracle Plant.
Yes, no, I am done. I'd love to hear from Connie.
Absolutely. Connie, welcome back to the Miracle Plant podcast. I love your story. I share your story quite a bit. And you're definitely one of the pillars of our organization to opening our eyes to what this Miracle Plant can do for our bodies and help us in so many extraordinary ways. So I'd love to hear how you're doing and maybe give us an update on how life is, how life's going in your neck of the woods.
Thank you, Justin. I love talking about the Miracle Plant. I talk about it with just about everybody because when something so miraculous happens in your life, you can't help but share it. And so that's been my experience for the last few years as I have used the 101 CBD exclusively for everything that Janet just mentioned. Because when you are in chronic pain, it seems as though the anxiety level, I didn't even know it because I'm so used to having anxiety that I couldn't even express that it was anxiety, because I'm, as a Christian, I have surrendered, my life to my higher power, Jesus Christ, and I'm a woman in recovery. And so, I can't express honestly all of those facts, but if I'm not out of denial in recognizing what the basic problem is in my life, then I can't even deal with it. And so I didn't even know that part of it. So that's kind of one of the milestones that has happened over probably the COVID pandemic is that I realized I didn't really think I had stress and anxiety, but I would find myself getting very impatient and and kind of grumpy, and that's just not my personality. And so I was starting to get in touch with that. And so the Chill product has just been my go-to for that. I was mostly early on when I had the post-herpetic nerve pain. It just made me immobile. And you remember how much pain I was in, Janet, when I first walked in and talked with you. I could barely make it up the stairs to the office. And what was so wonderful is that, I listened to what you had to say. And I have so much to say today, but what I want to say to anyone who is listening about the use of this product, as wonderful as it is, and it is wonderful and it is miraculous, but it's really important to take it as it was meant to be taken. You wouldn't take a handful of Xanax the first time you ever, if you were prescribed it, you're going to take it as prescribed. And I find that so many people with natural products seem to think that, I'll take it like I take an Advil. I have a headache, so I'll take it for my headache. And then when the headache disappears, then, you don't even think about it. One of the things that I equate this miracle plant with is it's a food. It is as much a food as anything else. Like Janet was saying, it's like real fresh squeezed orange juice. And if you begin an eating program, your body is not going to adjust to that eating program for a while. It takes time. And so I think that's one of my frustrations with those that I talk to this, about this miracle plant with. It's like, okay, it's not a medicine. It works like a medicine, but it's not like a pharmaceutical that you just take once in a while. This is something that is, it's like eating your greens. If your diet lacks, natural plant-based greens, there's going to be a deficit somewhere in your body because your body requires those kinds of phytonutrients to grow and thrive. And so it's the same with CBD. I think it's really important to grasp the concept that this is a food that you eat every day. And that's what I do. I have to tell you, though, after some healing has taken place over the last 2 years, using the CBD for the post-herpetic nerve pain, I've noticed that I went from 4 times a day just to get relief from pain, down to the fact that I take like 1/2 dropper in the morning of the Alleviate and a 1/2 dropper in the evening for sleep, because it slows my brain down enough. It actually relieves the anxiety in my brain that I didn't know I had. I just knew I had a hard time sleeping, and I thought, I'll just cut down on coffee. Well, no, it wasn't the coffee. It's just my normal brain activity at the end of the day, going through and analyzing everything that I've done or said during the day. So that's just kind of my natural way of decompressing in the evening. And I've noticed when I take that 1/2 dropper about half an hour, after holding it under my tongue for the full 5 minutes, I blissfully sleep. It is just like, it's a miracle plant. I just can't help but say that over and over again. It really is. So not only did I experience great pain relief from the post-herpetic nerve pain, and I've noticed too, even my osteoarthritis, that I have spinal stenosis in my back, and also some pretty significant osteoarthritis in my hip and my knee. I don't know the scientific parts about that, Janet, but man, I really feel like either that is healing as well. I don't know. I really don't know, but I don't have as much pain in my back, my hip, or my knee as I did before I started taking the CBD. And just overall, I have a sense of well-being. Yes, I have, in the last 1.5 years, adopted a whole food plant-based diet, which I know has a positive effect on my well-being as well. People tell me that, at 74, I don't look 74, which always makes me happy. And then also, The fact that I have so much more energy. I have 5 grandchildren living right around me, and, I'm out running in the park with them and having fun with them, actually having them for an overnight tonight. So, those are the kinds of things that I couldn't do before. And so I have to say that it has not only restored my health, but it's basically restored my life back to me, the life that I really never knew I could have. And so that's been a surprise. So that's kind of the fast version of the update that I wanted to share with you today, and tell you again how much I not only appreciate the product and you hanging in there and doing all the research and getting out on every platform that you can to talk about this miracle plant so that other people can experience the benefits of it, and all that you give away. Oh my gosh, I not only love the plant, I love your company, and I love each of you for offering to the world the benefits of this beautiful plant that God created. So thank you.
This is the sound cannabis companies hear when they try to place an ad on Facebook, Twitter, or Google. The tech overlords' arbitrary discrimination against our industry is unfair. But until they change their restraint of trade policies, we need an alternative way to share our message with our customers. Cannabis podcasts are one of the last advertising platforms not controlled by tech monopolies. And for as low as $9.99 a week, cannabis companies have the freedom to play their uncensored commercials to customers around the world. Don't let tech bosses dictate how you run your business. Go to PodCONX.com. That's PodCONX.com. And for just $9.99 per week, you can go from this to this.
Well, we love you, and so happy that you're just an incredible example of what this plant can do to give you your life, or give you a life you didn't even know existed. And it was what it did for our son, and restoring his health. And Kristin was on earlier sharing incredible progress with her son, and LaTara with her daughter and with her health. And it's just, it's why we have this podcast. It's just, it's a platform where we can share these stories, and maybe only a few dozen people will hear this story in the next week. But maybe that story will get passed on to someone else, or this podcast will get picked up by someone who really needed to hear it, or it'll get picked up by a larger, a network when the time is right. And it really is incredible what just a little bit of plant juice can do for our bodies. And the story I like to share with your story is that it was kind of it was something that led you to looking at other things that you could incorporate into your lifestyle, like you said, like a plant-based diet and yoga, and like for others, like that, taking that 20-minute walk, or drinking that extra glass of water, or trying some meditation or some mindfulness, and just trying these holistic approaches to solving whatever chronic or issue that you have. So I tell your story all of the time. So if your ears are ever ringing, Connie, that's why, because I think your story is so powerful.
Thank you. And again, I had done a lot of that already in just the context of, my faith, but I didn't realize the effect it would have on my body, not just my mind and, my mindset, because I've always, I was a minister for a lot of years. And so my heart has always been toward helping people spiritually. But there was a disconnect somehow between my heart, my mind, and my body, which is weird. but it really was true. I didn't pay that much attention. I have a history of anorexia, bulimia, and my testimony for my recovery includes that. So it was like I almost separated myself from my body indirectly. Again, I wasn't aware of it, but I did. And it just kind of came full circle when I had this crisis of the shingles that just basically attacked my whole body, not just the small little area where I had the rash. I mean, it basically shut down my whole body. And I wasn't even aware of it. I just thought, oh, I'll get through this. I'll get over it. I'll take the antivirals, I'll get over. And I didn't. And for a year, an entire year, I couldn't walk more than a few steps without excruciating pain. I couldn't sleep. I mean, the only way I could sleep was just sheer exhaustion. And when I took the chill for, I took it, I call it resurrection juice. It's like the 3-day cure. I would take that chill, and then the third night I took it, I fell asleep for the first time and slept 6 hours. I couldn't believe it. I looked at the clock and I went, what? And it seemed like I was just asleep for 5 minutes, but I had my first 6 hours of sleep in a year, and it was nothing short of miraculous. So again, I am an advocate. I have recommended it to everybody because there's, just emerging research that's happening. I always tell people, we don't even know the extent to which this plant can be used. And it's, coming out more and more and more. So I recommend it to everybody. You have an RA. I have a friend with RA. She has found relief from it. I just sent some product to my sister-in-law who came down with the shingles. I told her my story, and I said, and here it is. I'm kind of copying you guys, Justin. I'm going to give it away so people will at least try it, And it's an amazing, amazing journey of health and wholeness in mind, body, and spirit, I think. And that's my story.
Well, I love it, and I love hearing your story, and I'm so glad that we found each other, and just think of all the dozens, if not hundreds, of lives that you've affected and will continue to change by your testimony and just by your willingness to share, your story. So we're so happy to have you back on again, so we can share it here on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and look forward to seeing you soon in person. I know you're here in Ventura as well, so I'm in the store every once in a while, and I know my mom, Janet, is flying back from Nebraska next week, so you'll see her around as well to catch up in person, as it's just so great to see everybody and see each other in person in the physical world as well out here in California. So with that, yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to see you. With that, any final comments anybody wants to add in before we wrap it up and send everyone off with our Heal the World energy?
I just wanted to again follow up on some things Connie said, and our topic today about anxiety is very important and feeds into that. And so truly when you're anxious, like with pain or anything, it does interfere with healing. And so you find doctors who say, oh, make sure you are taking your pain pills because your body won't heal when you're anxious. And so the CBDA does that too. And then it so interferes with sleep. It is almost impossible to get a good night's sleep if you are feeling anxious. And especially you can have trouble falling asleep. You can also wake up like at 2 to 3 in the morning. It's called early morning awakening in psychology talk. And again, too, it's that anxiety that does that. And then again, as you are not getting regular sleep, especially the stages called REM or dream sleep, and then our deep healing sleep, your body just gets more and more and more down the well or whatever of health, mental health and physical health. And so anxiety is one of those things we don't think about enough, but it literally does control so much of what goes wrong with our bodies. If we're anxious, our digestion doesn't work well. So again, too, it's so important to deal with anxiety if you have that. And true, my many years as a psychologist and integrative nutritionist and working in different fields, there's just been nothing like this, like the CBDA, that literally can very quickly, within like 20 to 40 minutes, if you do it sublingually under your tongue for the 5 to 7 minutes, it can just literally take away that anxiety. And even under very stressful conditions, like going to the dentist and riding on airplanes and driving in big cities or whatever, meeting with your mother-in-law or whatever your anxiety triggers are. And it's just so amazing. It really gives you control of your life again. that you don't have to worry that, yes, I know if I get anxious, I have a solution. I know if I can't sleep, I have a solution. If I wake up in the middle of the night because I'm anxious, I have a solution. And so literally that does help with those other health issues that you had, Connie. And besides, the CBD does get rid of the inflammation, which is at the base of arthritis and autoimmune diseases. So again, too, you do have a complete package. And kind of what you're talking about being as a minister, as I sometimes call hemp a Garden of Eden plant, just because it's been with us as humans and developed with us over the years. And so literally that's why it's the only plant out there that I'm aware of that our bodies have receptors just for it. And so again, too, to bring us together with this miracle plant, to me, it's like been the summation of my career and the many things that I've done. And so anyway, I'm so glad you made it on, Connie, and thanks again for sharing all that you have today.
I appreciate that, Janet. I wanted to mention there is a verse in the Bible that actually talks about the leaves of the tree of life being healing to the nations. So there you go.
There you go. It was a tall hemp tree.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, Justin, I was trying to get Stephanie into the room. I believe she had a question, and it's not allowing me. I've been trying for like the last few minutes.
There
Hello,
she is. Stephanie,
everybody.
you have a question.
No, actually, I was just jumping in, listening in to all you real quick. But I can add in there to like the shingles and the pain. It's exactly like what I went through with bone pain through chemotherapy. It's everything hurts, and literally the only time you could get sleep is if you were truly exhausted. But that's where this plant was exactly what helped me through that. I mean, I was a walking, broken, painful person, and Blackberry Kush all day was what saved all of that. So, yes, this plant is just freaking awesome.
Love it. Yeah, we have a flavor that's related to the Blackberry Kush, Blackberry Cobbler. So be sure to check it out. If you go to actually, you can go
I need to get my hands on that. I'm smoking a cobbler right now.
Yeah, there you go. So if you just go to www.freechillcbd.com, we actually send you one for free. You just pay for postage, and you can check it out. It's a tincture. It's cold pressed under the tongue, and you'll recognize the flavor. You'll recognize the terpene flavor. That's for sure when you get it.
Yepers, thank you. I'm gonna totally do it.
You bet. Well, we're going to wrap up the Miracle Plant podcast show, and thank you everyone for tuning in and sharing your stories and telling all these incredible, updates that we've got to hear, and talked a little bit about how this miracle hemp plant cannabis plant can help us find balance and homeostasis and help us through stressful and anxious times. So as we wrap up every show, make sure that everyone, if you're listening to this podcast and you liked it, please leave a review or please share it with someone who you think could benefit from hearing this information. That's the way to say thank you for us. And at the end of every podcast, we always unmute our mics and say heal the world, because that's our mission here at the Miracle Plant podcast. Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know we're about to end the show. I just wanted to give a quick praise report. I was actually waiting for her to give me permission to say this on the podcast. But my auntie, Waxy, she's in Thornton, Illinois, and she's fighting breast cancer for the third time. But this third time, she's been using something different. She's been using CBDA, and she went to the doctor yesterday, and her blood work was absolutely perfect. She got a good report, and I just had to share that this miracle plant is really helping. Yeah, she was stressed out. Yeah, she was tired of using pills, and now she's found something that's really helping her fight this cancer. So good blood work, thanks to 101 CBD, that full spectrum hemp.
Amen.
Amen.
Love it. Such great news to hear. And when we started seeing the results people were getting with cancer, with whole plant, cannabis and hemp, that's when it changed the trajectory of my life. I mean, obviously it helped my son, and that was an answer to our prayers. But when I saw what it was doing for so many other people, I knew that it had to be my life's work to pay it forward, to educate, to get these products in these hands, to get these seeds in these hands of people to try it for themselves, to see what this plant can do. So that's so awesome to hear. I'm so happy to hear. I know she's been going through a tough time. So yeah. Well, on the count of three, let's say heal the world, everybody, because that's why we're here. is to heal the world, reach 1 billion people by 2025, be it products, seeds, education, videos. And the only way we're going to do that is keep telling these stories, keep sharing these stories, and keep talking to people about what this plant can do for them and for everybody. So on the count of 3, unmute your mics and say heal the world so people can hear it, so people can feel it, for those that are looking for a solution, for those that are looking for a miracle. 1, 2, 3. Heal the world! All right, everybody. Thanks for
Have a
coming into
great
the
weekend,
podcast.
everybody.
Love you all.
See you next week.